During your studies, you heard a lot of great stories about fantastic companies and beautiful achievements, right? And I'm here to tell a bit of a different story. I want to tell a story about a bad company, right? I want to tell the story about the dark side of growth. Sometimes it sounds a bit from the outside like it's a story like The Wolf of Wall Street, spoiler alarm, without all the fun. So today I want to talk a bit about my personal story, right? And maybe some things I took out of this, some things I learned, maybe this is interesting for you. Originally, this is me in the year 2005, right? I was a marketing freelancer. I was working for a lot of companies, IBM, Microsoft, like big, mainly B2B companies. This was me, great skin tone, great smile. I loved the colors of the world, right? And this was the year when I started with Wirecard. And this is a picture of me taking like a few weeks actually before Wirecard exploded. The hair is a bit grayer, the look's a bit empty actually. 15 years I've been with the company. And these were my bosses, right? My compadres. The sea level of hell, like I call them. From the left to the right. Here is Mr. Jan Marsalek, right? The man who most probably stole 1.9 billion from an account in the Philippines. And next is Dr. Markus Braun, the man who rocked the turtleneck sweater, because, I mean, even in hot summer days, because you have to make a commitment, ladies and gentlemen, when you want to be the CEO. There's Susanne, she was a CPO, and next to her is Alex, he was a CFO of a DAX company. And before the Bundestagsuntersuchungsausschuss, he said a nice sentence. He said, in principle, there were two balances of Wirecard, right? One he was overseeing, and the other one was from the balance of Mr. Marsalek, and he didn't get anything of it. So I think this is a very good view for a CFO of a DAX company. But let's go back to the time when I started with Wirecard. In the year 2005, this was the office building. It was in Bretonischer Ring, Grasbrunn, and I can tell you it was really depressing. The area is Munich Speckgürtel, right? And it's like a techno center. So there is this kind of office, there is a Rewe next to it, and a Greek restaurant and stuff like this. And this is a good picture, actually. So I was not impressed when I was there for the first time. Absolutely not. Well, about 100 people doing digital stuff that I didn't understand, right? But there was one guy that caught my attention. And this is he. This is Simon. Didn't see this coming, right? He was the marketing lead back then when I started. And he was a crazy figure, right? He had a sneaker store where the hip people from Berlin were buying their kicks, right? And he had an art gallery that producing these nice posters. And he was on a mission. And his mission actually was to kill the globe. It was this globe he wanted to kill, and we all wanted to kill them too. Because as every miserable mid-class company coming from the Speckgürtel in a techno park, right? If you want to look international, you do a globe, right? This looks great, right? Now we are feeling that we are an international company. And we hated this from the very beginning because it was so small. And this was the first presentation that we did. It's called Typography with a Twist, How to Look Global. Has a bit of irony from today, right? And we compared the Microsoft logo, the Salesforce logo, the Lufthansa logo with our new designed Wirecard logo, no globe anymore. And we presented this in front of the entire Wirecard. And we waited for a reaction, and they hated it. They hated every step of this. They said, okay, this is just typo, where's our globe? There must be a surprise or something. And we said, there is no globe anymore. They actually hated it because we created an image that was years ahead for this company, right? And it's also ironic that when we entered the DAX in the year 2018, we outperformed Lufthansa from the market capitalization. And this, in principle, right? I started my journey as this kind of freelancer, and I was always looking for a mission. And this became my mission, to create a company that is much bigger than it's actually been, and trying to establish this for reals, right? This is full-blown Wirecard at its best in the year 2019. 5,300 people, young people, diverse people, billions, millions, hundreds, right? And we have come to a point where we've been something like a household name, right? Wirecard, you find since 2018 in the list of Unwörter des Jahres, is most probably the right answer. I don't know, right, if this guy pulled it off, right? So no clue about this, but we were on How to Become a Millionaire. And this was a man, right? This was Jan Marsalek, or this is Jan Marsalek, where he ever is, right? And I have to say I worked with this guy a lot. And this was kind of a crazy experience, right? Because you are all in a totally different situation. He didn't finish school. He was never in a university. His first job mainly was Wirecard. So the entire ticket that he had was the Wirecard ticket. So we once were like having a lunch, and he asked me, could I have a chance to work at BMW or Siemens? I said, I mean, your CV is having 0 points, right? There is only Wirecard and nothing else. I don't know, right? And he was pretty confused. And I think this was his point, right? His point was that the only thing that he has was the Wirecard ticket. And there's another thing, right, that you mentioned, narcissism, right? Narcissistic, oh God, what a word, right? And I was thinking about this, and I was always thinking about these people looking themselves in the mirror and really, liking themselves. And this guy hated everything that was about him. So as a marketing lead, I had to take photos from him, right? And he hated every photo. This was a nightmare. Once he asked me if we could take his body and take a headshot of a model. I don't know. I'm not too sure because, you are C-level of a bigger company if this is going to work, right? And I think there is no keynote, nothing. There's no video of this guy. Actually, he never exposed himself somewhere. And it's an irony, and it still gives me some chills, that his photo is now everywhere. Like airports, train stations, and everywhere. So Jan, if you're listening from Moscow or wherever, sorry, we couldn't. The BKA and the FBI, they couldn't Photoshop this picture accordingly, right? Sorry to say. So this guy was really strict in his communication, and communication was like his power move, right? To switch on communication and to switch it off. This was the way he was doing things. He hated people. He called them Menschensuppen. So he always wanted to try to be alone. So if you are alone and you have to run a company, what do? Telegram, right? This was long before the popularity of Telegram. And he was taking this super serious because what you see here are stickers that actually integrated in Telegram. You know what I mean? You have to invest 6 million or 10 million into Telegram to have something like this. It's the ultimate status symbol, right? To have something that in your beloved communication to show something that nobody else has. And there's also one saying of Jan that I always remember. It's you have to be aggressive, even though you are on the wrong side, right? You have to be strictly aggressive and pull it through. And if you look at the history of evil companies or fraudulent companies, in most cases, it's not the case that someone says something like, oh gosh, right? In my 20 years, I will rob the bank. This is not the case. It is more like people take one step in the wrong direction, right? And all the other steps come quite naturally. In our history, actually, this was, in my view, the point of no return. It was the year 2010, and the FBI were having this little sticker on every poker and online gambling site in the US. They called it the Black Friday. And the Wirecard was actually making a lot of money with US-based poker and online gambling. As a C-level of a company, now you have like two options. The first option is you say something like, hey, investors, look, we have a little problem. Profit will go down. And a lot of companies did, but we don't. When you look at the year 2010, 2011, 2012, what you see is a steady progress in profit, actually. 30% plus every quarter, every year. And it is crazy to understand that in the year 2010, Wirecard started the expansion to Asia, right? Poker business was not there anymore. Money had to come from other sources. So they acquired a company in Singapore, and I think they might have thought something like, okay, for the time being, we do something, maybe it's a bit grayish or illegal, but we take a step and then maybe we go back. Because in the years 2011, 12, and 13, I was working with Jan like hell on mobile payment. Because he was in every meeting, he was in every escalation meeting, every board meeting, everything, because he might have thought something like, okay, when we do mobile payment with Deutsche Telekom, Vodafone, and Orange, maybe we get back to the good track, right? But we can't. Maybe the reason is also me, because I couldn't pull it off. I don't know. So for years, I think, the revenue of Wirecard was getting bigger and bigger, and also our case was getting bigger and bigger. Right? A lot of my friends, right, when we were getting in the DAX, it was like massive. Before that, nobody did know Wirecard, but suddenly everybody, my neighbors, everybody wanted to work for Wirecard. Everybody knew Wirecard and stuff like this, and but we constantly had some issues, mainly with some guys of the Financial Times and others. And Markus Braun was ready to rumble, right? Right decisions were made about the future organization of Wirecard. We will go through 2020 and beyond with great strength and robustness. On Twitter, May 2020. This is what great strength and robustness looks for Wirecard, right? In June 2020, only 1 month later, actually, Ernst & Young, in their 10th year, right, of auditing Wirecard, had the idea maybe to look a bit deeper into things. And they found an account in the Philippines that they were saying that there is 1.9 billion euro, not dollar, on this account. And they said, it looks a bit crazy, right? And we want to have further investigations on this, and things were getting back and forth. And at a certain point, Ernst & Young was not testifying the balance, right? And the stock price went from 120 to 25, and from 25 to nothing. And for us, working with Wirecard, this was a matter of 7 days. Like from the press conference, or not the press conference, it was not happening for Wirecard, about the balance of 2019, right? The first information that we was getting, there's some money missing. So good, there's some money missing. Maybe we send some over in a private jet to take a look in a Philippine bank where the money really is. 2 days later, somebody told me there is no money. And now you understand that you are dealing with something criminal, right? And 3 days later, there was a news on the ticker that Wirecard was insolvent, broke. Like from 7 days to from at the star of the DAX, right, to a company that had massive problems. And I can tell you, this was really something that nobody inside Wirecard really understood. And I was writing a book. When I was going out of Wirecard, I contacted a publishing house and was writing a book. It's called Bad Company, about my career at Wirecard. And when it was published, I was blown away by the reception. I thought, I write a book and it will be published and nobody will take care. But suddenly I found myself in really strange places. And I didn't like it at all because, I mean, look, right, this how I look up to Markus and Jan and stuff like this. So this was really, I think this was really a low point in my life. I wanted to hide. Thankfully, there was mask and Corona, and so nobody even recognized me, but I really hated it. And you know what I did? One day after I finished writing the book, in like 3 to 4 months, right? I joined another fintech company because I liked it. No, it's the case. I joined another fintech company because I wanted to have my relevance back, my life, yeah, my status, my title, everything, maybe narcissist stuff, right? I wanted to be back on the track. But after 2 months, actually, I saw that my life is on repeat, and I quitted the job. And since then, I'm a consultant. I do some crazy stuff. I write another book and stuff. But since then, I'm not working again in a corporate environment again. But if we sum it all up, right? The first thing is what I learned is actually listen to your gut's feeling, to your emotional intelligence. And I will tell you an example, right? When Wirecard was having this breakdown, a new CEO came in, James Fries, right? And James, he might have 1,000 pages on his desk about forensic research about the missing 1.9 billion. And do you know what he did? He was going to Wikipedia and looking up how much euros are in the Philippine bank system. And you know what? Not enough. So he said, this cannot be true. So we all kind of are related to numbers, right? And I think you learn this all day, like to trust KPIs, OKRs, growth rates, Excel charts. And I can tell you that I was meeting all the rock stars of the analyst and investors game, from Goldman to Deutsche Bank to UBS and stuff like this. And they all did get it wrong, right? Nobody was getting it, that something was wrong with Wirecard. So I think sometimes it makes sense to listen to other, to your Bauchgefühl, as we say in German. And the other thing is, sometimes people contact me on LinkedIn and they say something, oh, I lost some money with Wirecard. What can I learn out of this? And the only thing I can tell you, what you can learn out of this, always invest everything, like money, times, and material, only in things you love and you understand. And I tell you, nobody that was investing in Wirecard had fully understand the business model or the product scenario, stuff like this. Nobody was even liking it, because nobody likes payment. It comes from pain, money goes back and forth and stuff like this. And man, if you like Tesla, right? If you enjoy this, then maybe you work in Tesla or you invest in Tesla or something like this. But Wirecard, I think, was represented by greed, right? Even when the stock price was going down from 100 to something like 10, people called me and said, well, I will invest now. I mean, guys, are you crazy, right? And this is everybody wants to be part of this movement. And the other thing is, I can say I was not really courageous when I was there, right? I had I could have different ways to leave the company, but I always thought to myself, maybe I have this kind of imposter syndrome that if I leave the company, right, everybody will understand that I have no clue of payment. I think this is crazy, and you're young, right? And I can only encourage you to make really good things, meaningful things, and be really courageous. Thank you very much.